Hi guys and welcome for another video on this channel. Today it's the My Team Career Mode Season 2 Round 5 for the Spanish GP around Barcelona. And if you did miss the previous one around Imola, be sure to check this one out. We had really strong race pace and we had a really good qualifying. But in the end, unfortunately, we got screwed over by rain and a bad pit stop. And in the end, finished only P18, which definitely wasn't where we would have ended up with our pace. So yeah, be sure to check that one out. And for today's episode, first of all, we have to manage our sponsors, as our sponsor contracts ran out. And I actually didn't realize that I could have signed a third sponsor. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. But I think I signed the next sponsor for in the next episode. So yeah, we miss out for one race. So it's not perfect, but it's okay. It's not too bad. And now we're changing the engines for practice again, going back to the older ones to save some wear on the newer ones so we can take them longer through the season. And as we have almost 10 million in the bank, I decided to do some upgrades on our facilities. And I decided to do one upgrade on the aerodynamics and one upgrade on the powertrain department. So we're again improving our facilities to have more upgrades available to us, which will help us build a better car.
We can now approach an additional sponsor from the corporate tab. Thanks.
And then on the department event, I took the option where we get positive effects on morale and the money. And now let's go to the race weekend for the Spanish GP. And there in the weather forecast you can see it will stay completely dry for the whole weekend, which is really good for us because our pace in the dry is just much stronger than in the wet. I don't know, I just can't get used to the wet weather. And I thought about doing an aero upgrade because that's pretty much all we can do for now, because with the facilities as we have them right now, we are pretty much maxed out with almost everything. So yeah, there in the performance chart we're P8 So we need Spec 3 on our facilities as fast as possible. But that's so expensive, it's just... we can't really afford it right now. So we're gonna have to wait for that, and hopefully it will come in soon. So let's go to qualifying and hopefully get some good laps in. Hopefully we can go through to Q2 on one set of tires. I mean, it is really tough in this car to go to Q2 on only one set of tires. But if we get a good lap in, and I think we should be able to do that, because I feel really quick around Spain. But actually we miss the apex at turn 5 a little bit. So that's probably not gonna be the fastest lap that we will have around here. And this turn 10, 11 and 12, it's really not a good combination of corners for me. I don't know, I can't really get it right. But then we come out of the last corner and it's a 13.5, and in the end that's P1 at the end of Q1 with 13 thousandths ahead of Sainz in P2. So hopefully we can get the same lap time or an even better lap time in for Q2, and maybe even go through to Q3 on just one set of tires again. That would really help us. And we again get a purple first sector, get turn 5 better than in Q1, but still not perfect. And then almost flat out through turn 9, open the DRS, and then into my weakest part of the track. But we actually get it really good. We get turn 10 really good, and turn 12 we have to correct a little bit, but we get the exit really good, flat out through turn 13 and almost flat out through turn 14, and in the end it's a 13.3, which puts us P1 again. And we went through on one set of tires again, and then into Q3. Now we have two sets of new tires to make two runs, and hopefully we can get two good laps in and maybe even get pole. I mean, we were ahead by almost a 10 in Q2, and we were P1 in Q1 and Q2, and we get a purple first sector again, and this time we get turn 5 really good, as Checo sets a 14.2, which is 9/10 slower than our Q2 time. So it's looking good if we can keep that lap together. And we have a purple second sector as well. So we are really quick right now. as Russell ahead of us sets 13.4, but we had purple sectors and we went through that after him, so we should be quicker than him. And up to the line we go, and it's at 12.7. So that puts us P1 for now, and then into the last lap we go. We are the last one on track, so we should have the best track conditions out of everyone. And into turn 1 we actually lose a little bit of time to our first lap, and now we're pretty much on the same pace. We don't go purple through the first sector though, even though we were a little bit quicker than on our first lap, and now we're 2 tenths up on our previous lap. And now into turn 7 and 8 we go, lose a little bit of time, and then again this time really flat out through turn 9, gain almost 3 tenths, purple middle sector, so we are on course for a good lap, and hopefully it will be pole position. We get a little moment of oversteer out of turn 12 though, and we actually lose 2 tenths to our previous lap, and in the end it's P2 by 23 thousandths of a second. So that's unfortunate, but it's our first front row qualifying in this My Team career mode, so I'm definitely happy about that. We could have been on pole position, we just lost out by such a little margin. But let's go to the grid and hopefully get P1 at the start and then run away.
Welcome along everyone to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position and the owner driver alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Verstappen, Stroll, Norris, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Bottas, Albon, Joe, Sonoda, Ocon, Magnussen, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Theo Pourchaire, and Nick de Vries. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Natalie Pinkham, a lot of talented drivers out on the track today, but what will stand out for you?
Formula One never sits still. That's something that is so compelling about it as a fan. I love the fact that they're always pushing boundaries, always asking questions, always challenging how we can do better and create more performance, more entertainment, more technological advances. And we take the viewers with us on that journey, and I think that's why it's so thrilling.
So now we go to the grid, and it's the same strategy as always. Mediums to hards. I think it's a little bit boring that it's always the same strategy. But it is what it is. And maybe we can go one lap earlier into the pits to undercut Russell if we can't get ahead of him at the start. So yeah, we will see how this one will play out. And hopefully we can get our first I mean, not our first win,
Okay, that's not an
but
ideal
our
place
first
for the
legit
grid
win
start. You're
where
giving it a good
the
launch from
AI
the start.
aren't bugged.
Okay, so that's the
And we
rest
actually
grid
got the
for you now.
parking
Be
very
patient
wrong.
and watch for those
I
lights.
tried to park the car a little bit to the left to maybe get a better start than Russell and then cut him off instantly. But instead of that, we get overtaken by Hamilton, and Leclerc went side by side with us as well. And we tried to go around the outside of Hamilton, but turned in a little bit too late. So now we're in P3, we lost the position on the start, and both the Ferraris behind us will try to overtake us as well. And then on lap 6, the Mercedes pulled a gap to us, but we pulled a gap to the Ferraris. And the Mercedes are going side by side, so we get back into the DRS. So Mercedes could have just ran away with the 1-2, and we probably wouldn't have caught them ever again. But they decided to fight and bring me back into the fight for P1. So with the DRS, hopefully we can gap the Ferraris even more. That would really help us to save this podium. And maybe we can even go for a move for P2 or even P1 in this race. So we're a little bit far away to make a move on them, but they go side by side again, and we get really close now because they are just losing so much time by going side by side through the first sector, and they're still side by side, and they're going into turn 4 still side by side, losing even more time. And now we start losing time to the Ferraris. So I hope the Mercedes just stop battling and just go ahead and push again, so we can gap the Ferraris again. Because I don't really want them to close up to me. I mean, the more gap we have, the better it is for us if our tires stop working in the end. Or even to cover from an undercut or overcut. And now we're a little bit closer this lap than we were at the lap before. And the Mercedes go side by side again. And I was thinking about making a 3 wide, but I thought this wouldn't end well. And now the Mercedes are just losing us a second just in the first 3 corners. And it keeps getting even more and more. And now the Ferraris are almost back into the DRS. And behind the Ferraris, I think there are both Red Bulls and one Aston Martin. I think it is Alonso. So this makes us a fight down to P7 or 8 now. I think P8 down to P8. So yeah, it doesn't really help us that the Mercedes were battling. And now on lap 15 we actually were in P2 because Russell pit, I think 1 lap earlier or 2 laps. And he undercut us massively. I mean, we were caught up in a fight a little bit. So yeah, I went one lap earlier than planned to undercut the Ferraris, and especially Hamilton, who was a little bit more than 1 second ahead of us. And as you could see there, Piastri was DNFing, so I was a little bit worried there would come out a safety car just when we came out of the pit, because that would make us lose so much time. But we lost time anyways, and we got overcut by Verstappen and Leclerc, and Hamilton pulled an even bigger gap to us. So yeah, we need to overtake the Ferraris and then maybe pull away, as now Alonso is only 3 seconds or even less than 3 seconds behind us, which is not really helping, but we try to stay with the Ferrari. Actually, we make a move on Leclerc, but we went a little bit deep, but still we could keep it ahead, and we actually had a purple second sector, so I think Hamilton, Perez and Sainz are coming in on this lap, and hopefully we can stay ahead of them, as Leclerc now overtakes us with the DRS, and Sainz actually comes out ahead of us, but Perez and I think Hamilton, yeah, Perez and Hamilton come out way behind us. So we're in P5 for now, but Alonso closed the gap to us and is pressurizing us. And then on the last lap, Alonso had a mechanical issue in the meantime and lost out massively. I think he went to pit another time, so we won't have to worry about him. So we're definitely at least in P5 at the end of the race. But as the Ferraris are fighting, it is for the podium positions. So maybe if we can overtake both of them, we could end up in P3, but we only have one DRS zone left. So we would need to make a move on both of them into turn 10. I try to make a move on Sainz, but he keeps it around the outside, and then into turn 12. He was a little bit slower than I expected, and I hit his rear, damaged our front wing, and that means we will end up in P5. But it's not too bad. I mean, we lost 3 places in the race, but it's still a really good result. And it's our first legit top 5 without any bugged AI. So yeah, I'm really proud of that.
So, a deserved winner, but we do have to give a shout out to the team in the pit lane and back at the factory. Very much a collaborative process.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
So let's see how that plays out in the standings. But first we look at our teammate He finishes in P20. And then in the standings, we are in P8. Behind all the Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. And in the constructors, we're in P5 now, ahead of McLaren. So really good result for us. Brings us ahead in the constructor standings. And I think that should be pretty much P8 secured for this season. Because I think last season P8 had 7 or 11 points or something like that. So I hope this season nothing crazy happens. And let's just hope the top 5 just score more points and we don't lose more than that and don't go lower than P8. And see you guys next time. Goodbye.